All right, y'all, we're doing it today. We're having the AI conversation. I recently uploaded a video on my channel sort of complaining about modern technology, and I very briefly touched on AI, but I specifically said in that video that that was a whole other thing I did not want to get into, and I actually got a couple comments about how I didn't touch on it, and there was a reason for that, and that is because it is a huge, vast topic, and it's also a very popular topic right now, right? It's kind of like when, I don't want to get age restricted, but you know, when we were all like, all that kind of stuff, that kind of thing, where like that was really popular to talk about for a little bit, and so people were just kind of saying whatever. I really didn't want to do that. I didn't want to make a video on this unless I had something actually relevant and interesting to offer. So today we are going to talk about AI and my thoughts. However, it's going to be very niche and specific. We're going to talk about the impact AI has had on the Vaporwave community and what I think can be done to prevent this. And I am also going to have a positive end to this video where I feature some OG Vaporwave creators, musical artists for the most part, that have been doing this for a long time, and ways to support them, because I feel like if I'm going to use my platform to complain a lot, I might as well have some sort of productive solution to provide you. So if anything, stay to the end of the video for some music recommendations, or you can use the timestamps. I always provide them. Lots of people complain that I yammer on too much, and that is why I use timestamps. That's why I have them. I hate making them. I do that for you, so you don't have to listen to me blah 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 blah. So use them, okay? I've got a couple different things that I want to talk about here. I didn't write a script for this, but I do have a little bit of a outline on my iPad. So I want to give a little bit of information on my connection with Vaporwave, how long I've been involved in the community. I also want to briefly talk about the origins of Vaporwave, the history and the subgenres. Also want to talk about some of the OG controversies that came before we got to this point, because the community was not all sunshine and rainbows in the beginning. I promise you that. And also want to talk about AI content farming, red flags to look out for, and how you can avoid this, because I had actually been passively consuming AI generated Vaporwave. I didn't even realize it. We're going to explain that as well. And then the end of the video is going to be reserved for actual good Vaporwave and the subgenres that follow. I'm not into every single Vaporwave subgenre. There are some that I just don't really enjoy listening to. But yeah, I hope this is interesting. It's going to be a little bit sassy because I feel very, very strongly about this topic. Oh, this topic just makes me simmer with rage. Okay, so how I got into Vaporwave. I was a hardcore Tumblr girly circa between, I guess, 2011 and 2016. It took me a really long time to let it go. I'm only 26, so yes, I did have some pretty intense unfettered internet access, and my teenage brain was probably permanently altered by some of the things that I saw on Tumblr. But I was really, really into Tumblr, reblogging. I don't know what else to say about it because it's so embarrassing. I think I've wiped it from my memory. But I've also always had a bit of a strong fixation on my childhood. I think that a lot of people that have been through some sort of pain and trauma can relate to this. I've talked about this extensively, that I did not have a good childhood. I'm one of the estranged children that you might be seeing on popular YouTube content right now. I am an estranged child by choice. And so I had a very stressful upbringing, and I have always sort of been fixated on my childhood, nostalgia, all of that kind of stuff. And so what I started doing was I started getting involved in photographing old and abandoned malls and buildings. I grew up in Pennsylvania. We're kind of like the magnum opus for these things. If you watch dead mall content or look at decaying architecture, there's a really good chance that it came from Pennsylvania. So I had access to all of this. I was relatively talented in just like creative arts in general. That's just kind of my thing. And so I quickly started getting involved with a group of people who were significantly older than me. Pretty sure I started meeting some of these people who very much still exist, so I'm not going to mention their names, but I was 17 years old and some of these people were in their early to mid 30s, which is kind of insane. So without getting too into it, I was introduced to the concept of Vaporwave through these circles of people that I was interacting with, and also the Tumblr circles that I was following, and I just instantly fell in love with the genre. I still hold such space for Vaporwave. Obviously, I have an entire channel dedicated to old stuff, and I feel like my content is sort of Vaporwave adjacent. My style is very Vaporwave adjacent. Like, I just have a huge passion for this stuff. I always have. But what I particularly remember loving about Vaporwave, and I'm using this as a broad strokes term, and I'll give more information about the subgenres in a second. I just love that it's somehow comforting and haunting at the same time. There's something odd and disturbing about packaging early memories in a way that is sort of like warped and distorted, and it probably also has to do with my childhood and everything being warped and distorted as well, but I just found it as sort of like this strange, self-indulgent, eerie, melancholy yet beautiful thing, and I quickly started getting into the community, you know, all of those different Bandcamp accounts for different genres of Vaporwave. I even tried to make my own Vaporwave, which I'm not going to show you, but needless to say, you know, it was a big part of my life, and I remember it really taking off when Macintosh Plus's Floral Shop came out. Here's the picture of the album. I'm not going to play it because it's actually a sample of Diana Ross's It's Your Move, which is certainly going to get copyright claimed, but this is like the Vaporwave claim to fame, right? Like, this is the most popular Vaporwave song that was slowly turned into a meme, but at the time, like, you know, I loved it unironically. I still love it unironically. I still listen to that song, but that is just kind of like a taste of what Vaporwave actually is. So kind of combined history and my experience a little bit there, but like, that's the backstory. This is something I'm really passionate about. I have ties to it mentally, and it also just influences a huge part of the art that I do now. I'm a drag queen now. I do a lot of Vaporwave songs. I don't think most people know that that's what I'm doing. I'm kind of known for doing like 80s numbers and older numbers, but I use a waterfront dining song in almost every booking I get, so it is something that is very important to me. In terms of the origin of Vaporwave, I am no means a historian in any way on this, but from my understanding, Vaporwave is kind of like created from a satirization of capitalism, right? So you have these really like big business type of aesthetics. You have like the original Vaporwave, which I would argue is like the slowing down of older songs and sort of sampling different pieces of them to create a new version of the song. But you also have like chill wave, mall soft, office wave, all of these sort of different genres. Mall soft is actually one of my favorite like subgenres of Vaporwave, but originally it was like satire criticizing capitalism, right? And sort of the American dream, which is something I've also always been obsessed with, the American dream. My particular generation, I feel like we were the last generation to sort of be sold the American dream. The life that I was told I was going to grow up in and the life that I live now are two very, very different things, and I realized that before I even got to college. So that was always something that I think sort of captivated people as well. Vaporwave started in the early 2010s, but really started to take off around 2015, 2016. It actually had a pretty short run in terms of people taking it seriously. That Macintosh Plus album, I feel like, was kind of the beginning of the end. I still love that song. I still love that song. But there is something to be said that it sort of slowly turned into a meme. And I do think the fact that like cringe culture started to become a big thing. I feel like nowadays, because of TikTok and everything, you can be as embarrassing and as unhinged as you want and people won't criticize you for it. But back in like 2015, 2016, at least in the groups that I was involved in, everyone was very hyper aware of what's like cringy and embarrassing. And so Vaporwave kind of turned into a joke. The song turned into a meme, and people were kind of just like clowning on the aesthetic in general. And I think that's why the issue with AI and Vaporwave makes me so angry, again, because I'm just going to keep restating it. And I also put that little reel that I made in the beginning of this video, that Vaporwave was designed to criticize capitalism. It was designed to be critical of consumption, over consumerism, all of those kind of things that are really heavily associated with American culture specifically. Not to say that there were Vaporwave artists that like all Vaporwave artists were American, but at least in the way that I experienced it growing up in the States, that was a huge pillar of it. So the fact that AI has sort of stepped in is really... We have to do something to combat this, right? Like, we have to take responsibility. I'm getting ahead of myself again. Now, this is not to say that the Vaporwave community was all peaches and cream, right? I am personally a big fan of some of the artists that have been criticized over the years, and that includes Waterfront Dining, even like Macintosh Plus, which is another alias. I'm pretty sure that that artist has like several different aliases, and I think that they may have talked about their experience with the song going like semi-viral. I don't think it was a positive experience, because at the time, a lot of like super, gatekeepy type of people, which I do try to avoid cultivating on my channel, because I'm always very conscious of like, I want to share my interests, right, and educate, and also, like, I don't know what I'm doing half the time, and that should be okay, right? Like, there should be a space in retro tech for someone like me, or other people who are novices and maybe don't know everything. And I think in the Vaporwave community, you had people who were really dead set on what it should and shouldn't be. So there was a lot of argument and criticism that people that were really heavily sampling music that already existed were not real Vaporwave artists, right? Or were like not real artists, and that they were like thieves, which I personally think is ludicrous, because sampling has been around since the beginning of music. A lot of times I have personally found some really awesome niche 80s songs from looking at what the sample is from, an artist like Waterfront Dining. But that was a controversy that happened way back in the day. It's really ironic that people were mad about that, considering that now we use copyrighted music in all of our videos, at least on like Instagram and TikTok. And also now we have AI, which is quite literally stealing from the works of these smaller artists and the bigger artists, and creating a subpar product that is much easier to produce and much easier to consume. A lot of people you will hear in Vaporwave type communities, there's so many different subgenres now and different sub communities. Like I mentioned earlier, you have your mall soft, your chill wave, your office wave. There's so many different. Synthwave is another one. I'm not really into synthwave personally, though. I tend to really like the Waterfront Dining. I like Bodyline, Corp. I like Mallsoft, and I also like, the artists that sample the 80s music. I don't know, I really enjoy that particular style of Vaporwave. All of these people, though, you will see the comment that says Vaporwave is not dead, and it's sort of been argued if Vaporwave is dead since like 2017, 2018. It's sort of like as quickly as the popularity rose, it really shot right back down, because once again, people were sort of turning the genre into a meme. It was a cringe, embarrassing thing to do. It was not something that likes to be mentioned. It was not something that you wanted to mention. It's sort of like how being a YouTuber used to be the most embarrassing thing in the world. If you did anything on social media, it was like, oh, what's wrong with you? To the point where I still get embarrassed to tell people I do YouTube. I don't see it as a flex. I still have that remnant, right? I still get embarrassed about Vaporwave, saying like, oh, I love it, because, there is that like negative connotation associated with it. And I think that sort of did some damage to the community that we've never really fully recovered from. You will see some good Vaporwave releases that come out in the modern day for sure, but I would say that they are super, super buried with these generic playlists on YouTube, which I'm about to get into. But it was already hard for these artists, right? Because one, you're working with copyrighted material, so you have to be careful with that. And then two, it was a community that was very quickly diminished and clowned on, despite the fact that I feel like Vaporwave has influenced so much of what we do today, because I definitely think nostalgia is rising and rising. We've talked about this in some of my other videos, but also even back in like the early 2010s with the Tumblr aesthetic, the clear skirts and the bright pastel colors, like all of that is influenced by the 80s and thus influenced by Vaporwave. It's kind of like a a symbiotic relationship. I have also complained before about where we are with nostalgia these days, because I do think that there is a level of healthy nostalgic consumption, right, where we're enjoying what has happened in the past, and then there is a kind of a point where you start to teeter and things become a little bit unhealthy. This is something I have personally struggled with and still do struggle with. I feel like this is also sort of why I don't make videos at the frequency that I have told myself that I would originally, because I really try not to get too sucked into what once was, because then it becomes very negative for me, and I just sort of end up spending a lot of time wishing for a time that I didn't even live in, because I was born in 1998. I'm going to insert another reel that I made, though, ironically, about my annoyance with some of the rising nostalgic sounds that you will see on Reels specifically. I don't use TikTok, I refuse, so I can't reference that, but this is for Instagram Reels specifically. I also have this quote from a Reddit user. I screenshotted this because it resonated so much and I feel like it is so well written. I got it from an 80s interior design group. I'm not going to list the name of the poster, because Reddit, I feel like, is inherently designed to be a little bit more anonymous, so I'm not gonna just put a random person on blast. But I read this and I resonated with it so much. The existential fear of complete ecological collapse of the earth drives a lot of people to want the world to feel like it's 2005 again, so they don't just collapse into a panic, and so companies have a way to somewhat trick people. For example, a ton of radio stations are owned by the same company, yet they'll use computers playing the same songs across every state at the same time, and they'll just hire local DJs in the area to record voice lines and in-between commentary at the beginning of the month to give the impression it's still a real radio station with real people spinning records, when in reality it's all just robots. It's like we live in Blade Runner. It's just being hidden with blandness because people get weirded out by how messed up our future reality really is. I totally agree with this, and I think this aligns with that reel of me sort of calling some of the nostalgic stuff that I've seen is like nostalgia, like corn, nostalgia corn. I'm sorry, I can't say that word on YouTube. Nostalgia corn, because it does not evoke the same warm, introspective, nostalgic feeling that I originally got when I first started getting into Vaporwave. It's kind of like you can feel the corporate sort of eeping into it. It's the same reason why VHS filters online do not evoke the same emotion that playing a real tape will evoke. It's why I'd rather record myself and convert it to tape than use a filter. Now, does that take a million years and it's super inconvenient? Yes, but you can tell the difference in the feel. Even some of the best apps out there fail to capture the warmth and originality of analog media, and I think that that's kind of where I'm falling with Vaporwave right now. This is also not an exclusive problem to just Vaporwave. I was just watching a video from, I think his name is either Sal or AG. It's a very short name. I'll put the screenshot here somewhere, but he does commentary about SpongeBob, and he has had an AI account basically steal his whole thing and recreate his content about SpongeBob, because it's super easy to just sort of fill it into a prompt, right, and create these videos that can give the illusion of the same level of introspectiveness that you got from the original thing. But and it's really easy to get caught, because there have been times where I accidentally was listening to an AI creator just to fill in the space, or what inspired this video, I found myself accidentally listening to an AI generated Office Wave playlist. Now, I can't for sure say that it's AI generated, because the creator doesn't say that, and I don't think that they're going to, but there are some signs and some red flags that to me just make me a little bit concerned about the authenticity. And I think part of that is that I got through maybe like 7 minutes of an hour-long playlist, which what I like to do is find Vaporwave compilations as well. So some sort of creator will pull songs from a bunch of different artists and then put it into one video that sort of encompasses a theme or a vibe, right? My favorite subgenre of Vaporwave is like Vaporwave. I love the Weather Channel. I have always had a special place in my heart for the Weather Channel, Local 8 on the 8s. Come on now. I love that aesthetic, and there's a particular playlist that is coming up on 10 years old, which is crazy because I remember when it came out, and it is just a playlist that really makes you feel like you're watching the Weather Channel. And that's an hour-long playlist that I can easily get through to the point where I'm like, oh my gosh, it's already over. But this Office Wave one that I pulled up, and I pulled it up just so I could get through some reporting tasks that I had to do at work, and I sort of wanted, to change up the vibe a little bit. I got about 7 minutes in, and I just felt like I was listening to like the lo-fi beats to study to, that I don't know if those are all original artists. I think a lot of them are, but slowly I think that's changing as well. It just kind of felt like I was listening to corporate hold music, but not in the special nostalgic type of way that I like to listen to it, if that makes sense. And I've also noticed that this kind of thing is a lot more common if you do not have a YouTube algorithm already set up. So I was using the private browser Brave because I don't want to listen to ads, which I know ironically I have ads on my videos. I will never get mad at people for using ad block. I totally 100% get it. And with that though, I don't have an algorithm established on that page, right? So I just typed in Office Wave, hoping I was going to find something fun and niche, and then quickly realized, oh my gosh, wait a minute, I'm listening to something that sounds really AI generated. And I'm gonna do it again right now. I'm gonna go into a blank YouTube channel on my iPad right now, and what I am going to do, I'm going to type in Vaporwave playlist. And I also just want to be really clear, it's gonna show the name of the creator. I'm not trying to come for anyone, so if I'm being inaccurate and you're not using AI, that's totally fine. Whew. And see, this is the thing too, because some people are very protective over their use of AI, which I genuinely don't understand, because if you are using AI for 90% of the content that you're creating, I have terrible news for you. You are not an artist and you are not original. You are actively stealing from other people and other creators, even if you're not doing it purposefully. Since AI is an aggregation of all of the information, or at least a lot of the information that we have on the internet, you cannot ensure that you are not infringing on someone else's copyright or that you're stealing from other people. And to me, it's very different to take an already created copywritten song like Diana Ross's Your Move, It's Your Move, right? Put it into Audacity or whatever you're using, GarageBand, sample it down, slow it down, create something that has some sort of strange melancholy nostalgia to it. There's a huge difference to me between doing that and then, I don't know like what AI programs create music, maybe it's more in depth than I realize, who knows, but it's not the same, right? And it's been really funny because I try to interact with people that are super passionate about AI in the least amount as possible, because they are always so defensive. And it leads me to ask, like, why are you being so defensive? Is it because you know what you're doing is inherently wrong, right? Because it's so easy and quick? Like, why are you being so defensive? I find that usually if someone is being defensive, it's because that they know that they're wrong, but it's too easy, it's too convenient, and they're making too much money to want to stop. This is what's going to come up though, because I'm not logged into a specific YouTube channel. I'm not going to screen share because maybe that's too shady to show you in that much detail, but if you care to look, we've got a kind of, and this is interesting too, we've got a mix of like those lo-fi channels that just like play music constantly. I don't know enough about lo-fi. I don't know if they're doing the same thing, but I clicked on this one right here, the Winter in 1984 Calm Vaporwave Nostalgic Ambient Journey. This was posted 1 month ago, and it's 6 hours, 21 minutes, and 54 seconds, okay? So you... Someone's gonna come for me for saying this. Just know it. But here's another thing. You go into the description, right? And of course, the hashtag liminal is always there. And I sound like such a gatekeeper, but it's not true. I want real people to fail, right? And real people to discover what is liminal and what isn't, and real people to discover the subgenre here. That's my thing. I'm not trying to gatekeep real people that care about this. Obviously not. Like, that's why I have a whole YouTube channel dedicated to this kind of stuff. But when it's being overrun with this kind of stuff, description of the video, right? We've got, you know, just like your typical hashtags. I use hashtags in my video, so it gets discovered. But you see, we have no copyright here, right? Like no traces of sampling or even like copyright from other Vaporwave artists, because I didn't really touch on this, but there are lots of Vaporwave artists that create original content. Is my camera out of focus? They create real, attainable, copywritten content, right? Like you can be claimed for using it. That's not the case here. So, okay, maybe I could just let that pass. In my mind, I'm kind of like 6 hours and 21 minutes. You made 6 hours and 21 minutes of music. Okay, maybe. But then we go to the channel. When was this channel created? 3 months ago. So that's your second red flag. Okay, so we're gonna go through this. Let's do this. I'm getting caught up in people getting mad at me, or someone finding this video and being like, Yasmin, how dare you accuse me of using AI? Yasmin, how dare you criticize other people for their own artistic contributions? Well, I'm gonna just have to not care because it's the internet and I'm already doing this. So I just want things to not be ruined. That's not going to happen, but no one can stop me from complaining. You can click off if you don't want to hear it though, whatever. But again, we're going back to this channel, right? So the first red flag we have is no listing of the soundtrack. Like no listing of the tracks. There was another channel that I was gonna come for. They claim that they make their music and it's copywritten. They are posting at the same frequency and the same rate that I would see an AI generated channel post. And they started their channel about a year ago, which is also a bit of a red flag. I'm not going to mention that creator or come for them because maybe they are actually composing all of their music. But if someone does happen to see this video and they come in my comments and start trying to like list out their highly curated AI process, I just want you to know I don't care. I don't care at all. Like not even in the slightest. I don't care how ethical you claim it to be. I don't care. Anyways, so we go to this, right? We're gonna go to the YouTube channel. Maybe they did create 6 hours worth of music. Maybe. But then, what's their oldest video? 3 months ago, okay? Their oldest video is 3 months ago. How often are they posting? Let's see, 1 day ago, 2 days ago, 2 days ago, 10 hours ago. And how long are these videos? 6 hours. They're all about 6.5 hours. And I'm sorry, my friends, that's an AI generated image. And if you listen to these playlists, it doesn't really sound like Vaporwave. It sounds like they're kind of like reaching out and getting to it. But it's not really there. And there is one that I accidentally clicked on, but it's that one creator. And I just have a feeling based off of their little vibe that I see here that they're gonna come for me in my comments. They're gonna find this video and say, oh my God, you're so lying, blah, 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 blah. Now let's go into my actual YouTube channel, Yasmin Collects. I also have a Brave account thing that like specifically, trust me, it knows me very well. Now see, this is what I expect to see, okay? Like there's the Macintosh Plus song right there. Another thing that you'll see in real authentic Vaporwave visuals is you will see real recorded content from VHS. I've actually wondered if some of the news programs that I've archived will ever end up in a Vaporwave video playlist. I hope so, because that would be really, really cool. You can really tell when it actually comes from a ripped tape. Like for example, this is Saint Pepsi's Private Caller. This is a great artist as well. This is from 11 years ago. And you can see right here that these are clear visuals from an actual ripped tape, right? And what they do is they put them together and make them into a video. Oh, I'm getting so mad. This makes me so freaking like this right here, this right here, this right here. That's an AI generated Vaporwave playlist. And like, why? And like, I understand wanting to contribute to the community, right? I started a YouTube channel because I wanted to start and contribute to the community, but it's not it's not helping anyone. It's terrible for the environment. I didn't even get into how AI is like just consuming ridiculous amounts of water at a rapid pace, and it's very scary because there's only so much I can cover. I think you get it though, and I think we should all start being a little bit more mindful. You got to dig a little bit harder. You have to curate yourself a little bit better because it is just overrunning the algorithm, and like YouTube seems to love it. All of these different platforms seem to love it, and that's what really makes it infuriating. So I am going to use the last couple of minutes to tell you some good Vaporwave music. I'm going to list it all in the, I'm going to make it the pinned comment on the post, I think. I'm not going to put it in the description box. I'll pin a comment that has links to all the videos. There's definitely more, but I have 3 minutes left on my memory card, but I'm gonna pin them. So you have them, so you can actually enjoy some things. And I will also say, if I were you, I would look at the date of which things were uploaded. Like, for example, this is my favorite one, 50 hours of Vaporwave from this account called Listhetic. They are one of the best in the game. I don't know if they're still making videos. Let's see if they're still making videos. It's been a couple months, but they upload individual songs. They also have credits to the artist. This 50 hours of Vaporwave, Our Local Forecast, this playlist altered my brain chemistry. I've been listening to this for years. It is one of the greatest playlists of all time. And look at that. You've got timestamps of every single song that was used. You also have the samples listed at the bottom because they probably got some sort of copyright restriction because there's real samples being used because real artists are making this. Oh my god. I also featured these in the reel now that I'm remembering. There's that Corp album. That's an original piece of content. That is, as far as I know, it's only very lightly sampled, if at all. That is an incredible album. Use Bandcamp. Get on like Reddit, try to figure out where the actual artists are because I am so tired of this. Okay, let me pull myself together. I know I was a little bit sassy in this video, but you know, sometimes if you feel so inclined about a topic, you just have to get angry, and I feel like everything is being overrun with this crap. And so when the world implodes, at least we can see on my channel that I was always against this and always complaining about it, and I will until my time on this earth is done. So yeah, if you like this video, I'd love for you to after all that, if you like this video, I'd love for you to subscribe to my channel. Yasmin Collects. We do all sorts of things on this channel. Apparently I complain now, but I also talk about old stuff in my collection, my tapes. Something on here is on my list for my next video. So yeah, subscribe. Love you. Leave your opinions in the comments. If you're an AI artist about to argue with me, I don't care what you have to say. Like at all. Like not even a little.